Alright, in this video we will take a look at this Xero integration and especially how to set up the connection string. So I already started this example and we see here this invoice browser, and what we do now is, before we can actually download the invoices from Xero, we need to configure the application properties. We can go to administration application properties and we see different properties here. The first one is the app type, which we will switch to private because we have a private application. And then we have consumer key, consumer secret, and the private key file descriptor and the private key password, or instead the path to the private key. So this is what we will do. In order to make that happen, first of all, I already created an account here at Xero and used the demo organization. You can take a look at the docs to see how it works. And here within this developer.xero.com/myapps, we can actually create a new application, which we will do. Let's create a private one. And the app name is CUBA Xero Integration Example. And the organization, as I already said, is this demo company. And in order to complete this process here, I have to upload the public key. And when you click on that link, you will actually get some information on how to create a public and a private key. And this is what we will do using OpenSSL in this case. So I will go into the terminal here and create a private key file. And now we should actually see this private key here. Next thing is that we want to create a public key on this, based on this private key. Alright, and with that we have now a public key certificate. And this is what we will actually do, but before uploading that, we will take the last step here and create this pfx file. And this pkcs12 file requires to have a password. And this is what I will enter here, Xero test 123, and with that we have now this pfx file with a password defined. So the next step is then that we will actually upload the file with our public key.cert file that we just created. And then we can actually create this application on the side of the Xero API. So what we will do then, we can actually take a look at or copy over the customer key, and we will just paste it in here. Then we will take the consumer secret and we will also paste it in here. Then we have the private key password. This is Xero test 123, as I already said. And then we have two options to give the application the private key. And I will take the private key file descriptor here. And in order to do that, I can go to external files and upload my private key into my application. The pfx file. And what we can do then is to look at the system information and especially the ID. And we will copy that over and go to application properties and reference this one here. Since this is not enough, in order to find the instance, we need to prefix it with this file descriptor meta data information from the entity. And with that, we should have properly configured all the necessary information. And what we can do now is to go to our invoice browser and download the invoices from Xero. And at this point, it should actually just work. Yeah, and as we see, we have now different, in total, like 68 invoices. We can actually go to the application properties once again and change the private key password to hello, and then take a look at if it still works. So we should like have round about 130 rows after it succeeded. Yeah, in this case we see that we don't use the correct password. So let's just switch back here and change the private key password to Xero test123. And if we do it once again, then we have a total number of 136 items in our invoice database. And the other way to pass in the private key is this attribute pass to private key, and this can be used when you don't want to use the external files options of Cuba, but instead want to give a pass into the server where it actually should look it up. And we can also switch to this mode, and we will remove this one here, and we will take this file name here and put it in there. And when we do that, this requires us to put the file into a particular in a particular directory, and we can actually copy this over, and here under deploy tomcat conf app.app-core we will copy that file, and with that it should also just work. So we can give it a try. And now we have 204 items. When I let's go back to our application properties and rename the file here. And let's try it again, and then it should not find the private key. All right, and with that, I think we have everything covered in order to get you started with the Xero integration, especially the configuration that has to be adapted. As you might have seen, there are a lot of other attributes that you can take a look at. But for a private application, this is totally fine.